Imagine stepping onto the sun-baked shores of ancient Alexandria, a melting pot of cultures, languages, and ideas. Here, Greek scholars rubbed shoulders with Kemetic priests, exchanging scrolls over cups of spiced wine. But what was really being shared? Let me tell you a lot more than just polite conversation. The term Kemet refers to the civilization we often call ancient Egypt, but through their own eyes. It means the Black Land, a nod to the rich Nile soil and, some argue, the people themselves. Now, picture this. Greek intellectuals like Solon and Pythagoras journeyed to Kemet in search of wisdom, absorbing hieroglyphic secrets and esoteric rituals. You're probably wondering, did they just borrow? Or was something more covert happening? The answer lies in a historical crossroads, one that would shape Western literature forever. We call this process cultural diffusion, but some argue it was closer to appropriation. And here's where our story of Euripides begins. So let's rewind the tapes of time and ask, how did the classics we attribute to Euripides get their earliest roots? From the wisdom and drama of Kemet. Euripides, his name, conjures images of grand amphitheaters, tragic heroines, and gods meddling in mortal affairs. Born around 480 BCE, he's hailed as one of ancient Greece's greatest playwrights, alongside Sophocles and Aeschylus. But who was he really? The son of a merchant, immersed in the intellectual hotbed of Athens, Euripides lived during a time of war, democracy, and philosophical upheaval. His plays like Medea and the Bacchae are lauded for their psychological depth and moral ambiguity. Yet, here's a twist. Many of his storylines, character archetypes, and even stage devices echo older Kemetic traditions. That's right, what we call a deus ex machina, or God from the machine, was practiced in temple dramas along the Nile centuries earlier. Now you might be thinking, was this just coincidence? Or was Euripides, knowingly or not, channeling the mysteries of Kemet onto the Greek stage? Let's dig deeper into those Kemetic influences that crept into Greek tragedy under the guise of originality. Picture a temple courtyard in Thebes, incense swirling as priests enact the death and rebirth of Osiris. This isn't mere storytelling, it's ritual theater, a concept known as mystery play. A mystery play is more than entertainment. It's a ceremonial reenactment believed to ensure cosmic order, or ma'at. Through call and response chants and masked performances, the audience participated in the fate of the gods. Sound familiar? Greek tragedies like Orestes or Electra share this structure. The chorus acts as a bridge between performer and spectator, echoing the Kemetic tradition of communal catharsis. Now you might wonder, did the Greeks invent this, or were they inspired by what they witnessed in Egypt? Scholars like Martin Bernal and George G.M. James argue for the latter, pointing to striking parallels in ritual motifs. So, when we applaud Euripides for innovation, are we overlooking the Nile's contribution to his genius? Let's compare two ancient tales. In the myth of Osiris, a beloved king is murdered, his body scattered. His wife, Isis, embarks on a quest to restore him, confronting betrayal, death, and ultimately resurrection. Now, leap forward to Euripides' Orestes. The hero, haunted by familial murder, seeks redemption, spurred by his loyal sister Electra. Thematic resonance? Absolutely. Both tales grapple with vengeance, justice, and the cycle of trauma. These recurring motifs, resurrection, divine retribution, maternal sacrifice, aren't random. They're archetypes, universal patterns Carl Jung called the collective unconscious. But ask yourself, why do these patterns surface so vividly in both Kemetic and Greek drama? Is it shared human experience, or was there a direct passage of stories from the Nile to the Aegean? Here's my theory. While the Greek playwrights refined the form, they did so by walking paths cleared by Kemetic storytellers centuries earlier. Let's pause and consider how ideas actually traveled in antiquity. We often picture ancient civilizations as isolated, but the truth is, Mediterranean trade linked Kemet and Greece like arteries in a living body. Greek merchants, philosophers, and even mercenaries lived in Egyptian cities. Many learned Demotic script, Egypt's cursive writing system, and translated Kemetic tales into Greek. This is what historians call cross-pollination ideas, jumping the linguistic fence thanks to bilingual scribes who served as cultural bridges. Now you might ask, why would Greek elites be so eager to absorb Kemetic wisdom? Because Egypt was seen as the motherland of science, math, and mystery. So when we read Euripides, we're not just hearing one man's voice, we're listening to centuries of Kemetic echoes, translated and transformed through trade and travel. Euripides is credited with revolutionizing the structure of Greek drama. He broke away from rigid conventions, introducing the prologue as a way to drop the audience into the action, and the exodos for a powerful conclusion. But here's the kicker. Egyptian mystery plays already used these dramatic devices. The priest would open with a ritual invocation, setting the stage, and close with blessings, mirroring the Greek prologue and exodos. Ever heard of the choral ode? In both traditions, songs and poetry connect scenes, guiding emotional response. The technical term here is strophic structure, alternating stanzas present in both Kemetic hymns and Greek choruses. Now, you might be thinking, did Euripides consciously imitate these forms, or was he swept up in a broader wave of cultural borrowing? Either way, the fingerprints of Kemet are all over his innovations. It's a reminder creativity often means listening closely to what's come before, then singing a new song with ancient notes. Think of the iconic Greek theater mask, its exaggerated features, its frozen smiles and frowns. Guess what? In Kemet, masks were more than props. They were vessels for the gods, used in temple dramas to embody deities like Horus and Isis. These weren't just costumes for spectacle. Kemetic priests believed that by donning a mask, one could channel the Ka, or the spiritual essence of a character, a concept echoed by the Greek term persona. Euripides' characters, often torn by divine and mortal conflict, reflect this duality. Medea, for example, is both woman and sorceress. Lover and avenger, her mask hides layers, much like Isis in her many disguises. You might ask, is this just dramatic flair, or is it an inheritance from Kemetic ritual? The evidence tilts toward the latter, connecting the sacred and the theatrical in one lineage. So next time you watch a tragedy unfold behind a painted mask, remember you're seeing a Kemetic legacy play out under a Greek sky. Ever heard the phrase deus ex machina? In Greek plays, it's when a god is lowered onto the stage by a crane, resolving impossible dilemmas. It's a technical term that literally means God from the machine. But here's the plot twist. In Kemetic temple dramas, priests would appear as gods at crucial moments, often descending from above or emerging from concealed doors to deliver fate-changing commands. This isn't just theater magic, it's sacred technology. The Greeks adopted these mechanical devices, known as mechane, straight from Kemetic stagecraft, using ropes, pulleys, and trapdoors. Now you might say, doesn't every culture have its tricks? Sure, but the symbolic meaning divine intervention, restoring balance, was a Kemetic hallmark, wrapped in the philosophy of Maat. So, when a god solves a Greek tragedy's crisis, it's not just a plot device, it's a Kemetic miracle in Grecian clothes. Let's talk about women, the real power behind the myths. In Kemet, Isis was the supreme mother goddess, a force of magic and resilience. Her story shaped generations of Kemetic women, who performed rituals in her honor and served as priestesses. Fast forward to Euripides' Medea, a woman scorned, wielding terrifying power. She's cunning, resourceful, and unstoppable, echoing the very traits worshipped in Isis. The technical terms here are matrilineal descent, tracing heritage through women and divine feminine, both central to Kemetic spirituality and reflected in Greek tragedy's fierce heroines. Now, some critics argue that Greek plays merely dramatized women's suffering, but look closer. Euripides gave his female characters agency, a quality inherited from Kemetic narratives of goddess-led redemption. So next time you cheer or fear a tragic heroine, remember, her roots run deep into the Black Land's soil. Philosophy now, there's a word most of us pin on the Greeks, but the Kemetic worldview shaped ideas about fate, justice, and the afterlife long before Athens rose to power. Kemetic thought revolved around Ma'at, the cosmic principle of order and truth. In Greek tragedies, fate is an unbreakable thread, spun by the Moirai, or fates, echoing the inexorable justice of Ma'at. Euripides, in plays like Hippolytus, questions whether mortals can defy destiny or whether divine will always prevails. It's a conflict. Do we have free will, or are we simply actors on a stage built by the gods? Now, you may ask, was this fatalism a Greek invention, or did it flow downriver from Kemetic teachings, where pharaohs were judged by the weight of their hearts against the feather of Ma'at? Every time a Greek chorus laments the cruelty of fate, they're echoing the ancient wisdom of the Nile. Let's jump to the present. For centuries, Western scholars credited Greeks with inventing everything from democracy to drama. But recent research fueled by Egyptologists and African historians has been rewriting the script. Technical terms like source criticism and comparative mythology are now at the heart of this detective work, revealing direct lines from Kemetic papyri to Greek manuscripts. Take the work of Dr. Theophile Obenga and Sheikh Anta Diop, who demonstrate linguistic and thematic links between Kemetic and Greek texts. Now, you might be skeptical. Isn't it just a case of parallel development? Not so fast. The evidence for direct borrowing is mounting. From shared plot structures to identical ritual chants, the stolen legacy of Kemetic drama is finally coming to light, inviting us to credit the true architects behind the classics. So, why dig up these ancient connections? Because stories shape identity. When we celebrate Greek classics without acknowledging their Kemetic roots, we erase the contributions of Africa to world heritage. The technical term for this is cultural erasure, a process that robs people of their history and dignity. Reclaiming these influences isn't about diminishing Greek genius, but about giving credit where it's due. Imagine a world where every student learns how the wisdom of the Nile seeded the flowering of Athenian drama. It's a richer, more truthful story, and one that honors the mosaic of human creativity. Now, you might be asking, does this really change anything? I say absolutely. Knowing our shared past empowers us to build a future rooted in respect and recognition. So as you watch or read your next Greek tragedy, remember, you're witnessing a global inheritance, with roots stretching from Athens all the way to Kemet.